Thanks for taking the time to listen to our latest content here on the Blood Red channel. Guy here with just a quick message. Do you want the very latest Liverpool FC news directly into your inbox? Well, then sign up to our daily LFC newsletter, which will bring you the breaking news and big events from around Anfield. To subscribe, just go to bit.ly/LFC newsletter. That's bit.ly/LFC newsletter, or click the link in the description of this podcast and pop in your email address. It really is that simple. That link once more, bit.ly/LFC newsletter. Well, thanks for your time, and on with the podcast.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool ECHO.
This is incredible time for incredible supporters of an incredible club in an incredible city. Jurgen Klopp speaking to the city of Liverpool and, of course, Liverpool supporters exclusively through the Echo. This is the Blood Red podcast as we get ready to discuss Klopp's heartfelt letter to supporters, getting to grips with Liverpool being champions of England, and, of course, look ahead to Thursday's game at the Etihad Stadium. I'm Guy Clark, alongside me, Joe Rimmer, Theo Squires, and Matt Addison. Gentlemen, how are we all? And I suppose it's been a case of this weekend of getting used to supporting the champions of England.
Certainly has. It's been a long weekend. Fair few beers have been sunk. Quite a lot of work's been got through, and yeah, it's been great all round.
And Matt, yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously, where it was an absolute privilege, and to see it happen. Myself and Theo were actually live, weren't we, on the Blood Red channel at the moment that it happened. So yeah, it was. It's been incredible. It's been a tiring weekend, but an absolutely thoroughly enjoyable one.
It's been a relief. I've been waiting 3 months for it to officially happen. There's always that slight doubt that the season could be cancelled or whatever, or something else would spring up. So it's just a relief, like seeing all the hard work everyone at our place has put in, how Liverpool put all the hard work over the season. So to see it all come together over a brilliant weekend, it's just been great to see.
Yeah, it certainly has. And of course, I suppose, Joe, as well, all topped off on Sunday evening with that 1,600 worded letter from Jurgen Klopp, talking about just the achievement for Liverpool, the city itself. Of course, he got onto the celebrations, of which we'll touch on shortly, but I suppose that must have been a prouder thing that you've published on the Echo website, is it?
Yeah, the single best thing I think I've ever published on the website. I've been here 6 years now, and that I just thought superb. I mean, it's hard to put into words how special a manager Jurgen Klopp is. And when you read that letter, if you haven't read that letter, if anyone's listening, go away and read it. It's just, every word is just wonderful. He's such a charismatic guy. I saw someone tweet this morning saying he's so good he's wasted in football. But I get where they're coming from. But I think as a football manager and the chance for him to reach so many people, he's such a special man, and it's such a special letter. So yeah, it was a bit. I read it yesterday when it got sent through to me, and I was a little bit almost choked up reading it. I thought it was just incredible. I can't thank those at the club who helped us get it and put it together with Jurgen enough. I think it's superb. I think there's some really important messages in there, which I'm sure we'll touch on shortly, that people should read and people should listen to. And he always finds the right words. So just can't praise Jurgen Klopp enough. He's just a special manager, the most special manager I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I'm pretty sure, he might be the most special manager I'll ever see in my lifetime.
And I suppose on that point of him being such a special manager, we're all of a generation who just hails of Bill Shankly having been passed down. And Jurgen Klopp was asked about it, Matt, at the press conference the day after being confirmed as champions, of his standing alongside the likes of Bill Shankly and Bob Paisley as legendary figures as Liverpool managers. But I suppose he's sort of taken that on with this letter, speaking directly to the supporters.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as you say, he spoke about, potential statues and things like that. And I mean, if it carries on the way it's going, you wouldn't be at all surprised that once he leaves the club, something like that did happen. Because I think just reading the letter and the sort of the powerful way that he has with words, as you read the letter, you can sort of hear in your head him saying it. It's absolutely sort of typical of Jurgen Klopp and the way that he manages, and for all the excellent sort of football side of things, I think it is that human side of it. It's the fact that he just gets what Liverpool is about, not just the football club, but as the city as well. And I think one of the lines that he says in it is just, if you're reading this, you obviously care about, the city and that sort of thing. And it's quite obvious as you read down that he cares about that too. And I think, there's been obvious examples of managers over the years who maybe haven't quite got that the same way that he does. But yeah, as Joe says, I mean, you can't fault the letter, you can't fault the manager, the person that he is. And, you'd be surprised if Liverpool ever got somebody who was just such a perfect fit for Liverpool and for all Liverpool fans ever again. Because, there's just, whatever way you look at it, whatever angle you come at it, he's just absolutely perfect. And to top that off, of course, he is an exceptional football manager as well, and tactically and that sort of thing, he doesn't really get it wrong. So yeah, he can do no wrong. And as I say, if a statue of Jurgen Klopp was to be erected in the future, you would not be at all surprised.
Yeah, humility, I think, is the main thing that really came over from it for me early on in the letter. How he talks about how, you see me in press conferences, perhaps more than a normal guy. And that is the thing. He always tries to make it personable, and that you just remember Jurgen Klopp, of course, is a human himself. David's got in touch with this, Theo. So it's such a class act, Jurgen is. That letter was humble and unifying for the great city of Liverpool, for Toffees and Reds alike, and then signs off, get in, of course. But it is all of that, isn't it? It is that real huge personal touch that Jurgen Klopp comes across in that letter with.
Yeah, as Matt's just said, Jurgen Klopp just gets it. I think we've all seen clips of Shankly in his heyday, just comes out with so many good sound bites. And at the time, I'm sure fans had been thinking they were truly privileged and it was special to watch Bill Shankly's Liverpool and to listen to Bill Shankly. And you think, these managers come around, once in a lifetime, and now 50 years on, it's almost like a second coming of Shankly. Like, one of his quotes that springs to mind is, Liverpool was made for me and I was made for Liverpool. Well, you could say that's perfect for Jurgen Klopp as well, because he just does get it. And it is not just about Liverpool. Like, it'd been very easy to write the letter just to Liverpool fans, but obviously it's to the city of Liverpool. He cares so much. And I can see where Joe's coming from with the comment about he's almost wasted in football. Because you think every press conference or whatever social issue that's coming about, journalists ask him about, he could easily be a politician. You see football figures do go into politics when they retire sometimes, and you wouldn't have any issue with him being a politician because he is so passionate about whatever he speaks about. And you just can't help agreeing with pretty much everything he says. He's such an important figure to the city. And it's great to see that he's going to be here for, another 4 years. You think, well, this is the impact he's had so far. What state is the city going to be in with him as a figurehead 4 or 5 years from now?
And I suppose on that as well, Roy Hodgson was speaking, of course, a universally popular man with Liverpool supporters, Joe Rimmer, but he's been speaking ahead of Palace's next game in his press conference, and obviously Liverpool's last game before being champions, the 4-0 win over Crystal Palace, and basically said, all credit to Jurgen, it looks as though he has got things set now for another dynasty at Liverpool.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, this isn't. I mean, there's a lot of talk of success plans and new transfers, but I don't think there's an old team by any means. The players are in their primes. There's still 2 or 3 years of them at the highest level. I don't think anyone in who's a starter, correct me if I'm wrong, is 30. So, likes of Trent Robertson, people like that, Joe Gomez, they've got absolutely years. So this could be a dynasty, and I think with Klopp at the helm, then it's almost guaranteed. Success is, you think about since he stepped in the club, and there's been some league seasons that perhaps haven't been as good as he wanted them to go, but there's been no real blips. He's the finals he reached the UEFA Cup final, the Carabao Cup final. He's reached the 2 Champions League finals, finished second in the league with a record points total, has now won the league and won the European Cup. He's pretty much every season been on, if not having achieved something special, been on the verge of something special. So, I don't know any manager in my lifetime who's had the golden touch at Liverpool like him. He just, every single season, Liverpool are challenging for honours, that being the cup competitions or in the league. So, I think this Liverpool team could go on and gather trophies at such a frightening rate that, it would be glorious for everyone involved. So I hope that's the case, and I hope long. Jurgen Klopp stays at this club a long time, 4 years, 5 years. I hope he extends his contract another 10. You know, it's just brilliant to watch. I'm sort of going on and on here, but you know, it really is. I've waited 30 years to watch Liverpool win a title. I was 18 months old last time they won one, and you know, you listen to your dad tell you all this, that, the other, and it's a cliche almost, but it really is. You know, there was times when I thought they're not going to do it. When are they get this title? They're just not going to do it. And there was times when they went so close that you thought there's always going to be someone better or better resources. But he's done it, and he's done it in the most remarkable style.
Yeah, it certainly is a generational thing. We best get into then Jurgen Klopp's message to the supporters, and a number of them in there. But Matt, his whole success at Liverpool really sort of seems to be due to the tie-in of supporters. He writes in the letter of your passion, your songs, your refusal to accept defeat, your commitment, your understanding of the game, and your faith in what we're doing. It is a real team effort. It's easy to sort of, in times of glory, really wrap these things up and make them seem also romantic. But Jurgen Klopp has continually, through his time at Liverpool, always emphasised the importance of the supporters.
Yeah, 100%. If you look at his time, he's all emphasised that throughout, you know, all of the matches that he's played. You think of, you know, the time when he said he felt lonely at Anfield because, you know, people were leaving early and things like that. They're all, you know, part of this process of getting Liverpool to the point where they're at now. So, yeah, I think obviously supporters are hugely important to every football club. And I think the time that we're in at the moment, obviously with coronavirus stopping people from going to matches and attending in person, I think that just underlines that even more. But, you know, the way that he puts across that message of how influential the fans have been and that sort of thing, it's not just obviously what fans want to hear, but he genuinely believes that. He thinks that they are important, and absolutely, of course, they have been on so many different occasions. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that there's no fans in the stadium at the moment, I think, makes the message even more important. But, you know, even without that being the case, there's no doubt about it that Liverpool fans have played their part. And, you know, for him, for his coaching staff and that sort of thing, you do look for marginal gains and things like that, just because, you know, they don't maybe have the resources of even a Chelsea or certainly not a Manchester City. So if you can sort of get a marginal gain in whatever form, whether that be something else or whether that is the fans and the support that they bring, I think, you know, it does all tie into that one big project. And, you know, right from the start, that was something that he pinpointed as almost being unique, really, with Liverpool, and certainly the team that he came from, Borussia Dortmund, was exactly the same. And, you know, we've seen so many pictures and sort of images and videos of him at Borussia Dortmund. He did exactly the same thing. So I suppose he almost had a perfect dress rehearsal for that, and then he's come across to Liverpool, and, you know, to be able to recreate that at two different clubs and to have the success that he's had, I think, again, it just goes back to how much of a fantastic manager he is.
Yeah, and a manager's ability to communicate with their public, the supporters, Theo, is one of the big issues in modern day football as well. That ability to keep fans on side even when things aren't going right, but just understand the language as they speak, in which he says in, obviously, I love your understanding of the game. It's sort of creating that bond with the supporters. But of course, he says that what I didn't love, and I have to say that this was the scenes that took place at Pier Head on Friday. I'm a human being, and your passion is also my passion. But right now, the most important thing is that we do not have these kind of public gatherings. There was those scenes on Friday. Of course, Thursday, the eruption of emotion of Liverpool becoming champions for the first time in 30 years. But Jurgen Klopp, with this letter addressing that what took place on Friday was unsavoury and wasn't obviously what Liverpool wanted to be happening and taking place.
Yeah, definitely. It needed that statement to come out, and it's come out from the person who's probably got the most sway with supporters at the point they're going to listen to most. And it's just another reason why you love Jurgen Klopp, because he's taken that responsibility to send that message to supporters. Never been afraid of telling the fans when he's not impressed with them. So it's quite a small thing in comparison, but early on in his reign, when he didn't like them leaving games early, obviously we all remember the West Brom game at the end when he's celebrating with them at the end because they've stayed until the game and they got the draw. And this is another moment like that when it's like, come on, have a moment to think here, be sensible. The reason you're not at the games able to celebrate this properly is for the health of everyone in the city, for everyone in the country. don't jeopardise it by getting a bit carried away here. Liverpool will have time to celebrate with the fans. There is going to be an open top bus parade at some point. Liverpool will get their hands on the trophy. And it's not as though this team is going anywhere. Even if you enjoy this success in the moment as you'd like, there is no reason why Liverpool won't be winning Premier Leagues, European Cups in the years to come when normality is resumed, and then you can enjoy it properly.
Yeah, Joe, on Jurgen Klopp and celebrating, we've seen out of Madrid, we've seen now since the Premier League title has been confirmed, Jurgen does love a party, does love a dance as well. And I suppose that's one of the things that really sort of bonds with the Liverpool supporters, that you feel like you know him and you see him dancing, and it brings a smile to your face. And he says in his letter that when the time's right, we will paint the city red. And when that happens, that is going to be one party that Jurgen certainly is right at the forefront of.
Yeah, I mean, you think of any other manager in world football who's more rather have a pint with than Jurgen Klopp. I just don't think there is anyone. He's just that sort of guy, isn't he? He's got so much that, you know, he's the life and soul of the party, and that's what makes him so wonderful at what he does. I must say, I think the things what happened on Friday, I think there's a couple of things I'd want to say about it. First of all, the people who did violent things, destructive things, and really terrible things on Friday night, I don't think that they represent Liverpool as a fan base. And I think there's been some things said about, and it gets very tribal, and you can understand that, but I think there's been some things said, Liverpool fans. But to me, look, everyone in the city and the surrounding areas will tell you that they support one of the two clubs, whether they watch one game, two games, every game that season. They might follow them closely, they might not. But these aren't the people that understand the club. They don't believe in the club values. These are just people who turn up, whatever the excuse, and they might call themselves Liverpool fans, but to me, these people aren't representative of what Liverpool fans are like. Liverpool fans know better than anyone, you know, to behave themselves. So I don't take that. On the other hand, I do think that for the people turning up, and you know, even on Thursday at Anfield and on Saturday, I think Liverpool as a fan base has to own that. I think too many people turned out. You know, we promised we wouldn't, and people turned up at Anfield, and people turned up in large groups at the Pier Head, and they shouldn't have done that. You know, unfortunately, it is rubbish. But we said we'd stay at home. We should stay at home. You know, sit in the backyard, social distance with a friend if you want, and enjoy it. But turn up the Pier Head and turn up at Anfield in the first place, regardless of everything else that went on, which was terrible. Turning up was wrong. So I'm glad Klopp has come out and said that. And I do dearly hope that people listen to him. And, you know, when they lift the trophy against Chelsea later this month, I hope people listen, and I hope people enjoy their families in a responsible way at home. And, you know, it might be a bit of a killjoy thing to say, but there's bigger things going on. And fans fans need to listen, they need to understand.
Yeah, certainly. I suppose, Matt, you go along with that in terms of the social distancing guidelines, everything are in place. And as much as Joe's already said on this podcast, he's waited 30 years for this moment to happen. And yet it's just about that self-discipline and control, which unfortunately sees some work undershow.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? After 30 years, what's another few weeks or months or whatever it might be? I don't know. Nobody knows at this stage when the parade and the proper celebrations will take place. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. There was obviously not the best scenes at Pier Head. It's not too far away from where I live, and you know there was a few people down there who were social distancing and were not sort of behaving in the manner that sort of the people were. So it wasn't everyone who was down there, of course, but you know we do have to condemn those scenes as Jurgen Klopp said. It's not the right time to be doing something like that. And yeah, it's unfortunate, really. But yeah, as Chris says, you can't sort of tar everyone with the same brush. But at the same time, I think Liverpool do have to just accept that this has happened now. Whatever sort of comments come their way, whatever, it's just something to deal with. And yeah, hopefully in future Liverpool will be able to celebrate this properly, because it's not fair to those who did follow the rules and do the right thing. On Thursday night when they sort of had to miss out, if you like, in a way. So yeah, fingers crossed, nothing more can go wrong between now and the end of the season in that sort of way. And yeah, let's just stay at home and watch Jordan Henderson lift the trophy and celebrate what's been an incredible season, because that's what we should be talking about. That's what we want to be talking about, is purely about the football and how brilliant Liverpool have been.
Yeah, it certainly is. We start the new week then with Liverpool as champions of England, back in training and ready to go again, Theo. And there could be really no bigger match for Liverpool to begin, I suppose, their reign as champions of England, as going to the champions, Manchester City, at the Etihad Stadium.
Yeah, it's a chance to really send out a statement to the whole Premier League, really, because it'd be easy to enjoy your moment. You've won the league, to sit off a bit and just stroll out for the next few weeks, enjoy your summer and go again. But Liverpool won't approach it like that. They'll want to go out there and keep on winning. The players have already said they've got their eyes now on beating Manchester City's point record. They've only lost once all season. They've only drawn 2 games. They're not going to want to let those stats slip just because the title's won, because the trophy's in the trophy room. And when you go into the home of Manchester City, they know they've underperformed this year. They know things haven't gone their way, but they'll be hurting and they'll want to come back stronger next season. And if you could put another blow on them in this game on Thursday, then that's another mental blow for them, that Liverpool aren't going to be a one-season wonder. They are in it for the long haul. And granted, Jurgen Klopp might rotate things over the next few weeks. He might want to throw in Benamino or go to the kids like Harvey Elliott, Nico Williams, Curtis Jones. But then it's about the depth that Liverpool have got, the strength they've got in those reserve ranks to see just how good this squad is, because all those players, they are part of something special. How many players say that they've won Champions League and Premier League back-to-back? I think they're saying that it's the first team ever to win the FIFA Club World Cup, the European Super Cup, the Champions League and the Premier League at the same time, hold all those titles. So it's a chance to go and send that statement to Manchester City to keep on building on the success they've done for the past 2 seasons and just go straight into the new season, granted a few months early.
Yeah, and people who would say that the league title being won in June, Liverpool still holding the Champions League title, forget the point that Liverpool probably would have won this title in March, if not right at the start of April, had that not been the case, obviously, with the layoff we've had. But Joe, there's a chance then to move 26 points clear of Manchester City. The players have been back in training. Roberto Firmino sporting a new haircut, and Xherdan Shaqiri was back out on the grass.
Yeah, it's great to see. I think the clock's ticking on Xherdan Shaqiri, but I think I'll look back on his time at Liverpool very fondly. I hope that he can come back and play some games, make an impact, and just be a part of this season, because he hasn't really been a big part of it at all, has he? He's got himself a happy goal, which is a nice memory for him, but I like to see him play a bit more of a part. So good to see him back. Yeah, it's going to be a strange one Thursday, because it could go one or two ways. Because you can even see, I always remember Chelsea coming field after they'd beaten Liverpool in the final of the FA Cup and getting absolutely hammered, and it kind of felt like Chelsea had just turned up and gone, well, we won the war. You can have this little battle. So I don't think Klopp allows his team to turn up to City on Thursday night and go easy. I don't think he'll allow them to take their eyes off the prize, sort of thing. I think he will want them to prove another point and to celebrate this title with a win over City, strike out against them, and perhaps put another seeded doubt in their mind. Because let's face it, the last part of the season now, I'm sure City will be looking to make a statement, show that they're still going to be a force to be reckoned with next season, and perhaps take some momentum into that little mini Champions League tournament. And Liverpool have got a chance here to show, no, you're not going to do that, and we're going to be the big force in English football for years to come. So I think there's quite a lot riding on Thursday in a strange way. So it is a dead rubber, but I think there's a hell of a pride at stake. So I really want Liverpool to go there, and if they can get a win, make a statement. They've been close last year. How was it? 12 millimeters stopped them perhaps winning the title, and City's draw out that game. So they've done well at City before. I think they can go there and make a statement.
Yeah, certainly chance to do a double over them. Matt was just speaking there as well about Xherdan Shaqiri, who's been used sparingly through the course of the season. It feels like he's missed out on the season, yet he has played 6 Premier League games. He does qualify for a medal, and Ian Doyle's written a piece of the 21 players so far on the Liverpool ECHO website, if you want to find it. 21 players so far who do qualify for a medal. Takumi Minamino amongst them with his latest cameo against Crystal Palace. But a number of the youngsters, Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, both played 2 games. Nico Williams came on for his debut against Palace. They know then that they've either got to play 3 or 4 games in order to get a medal. And I'm sure that the local lads will really, really want to be involved in these final 7 games in order to get one of the medals.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's 5, isn't it, to guarantee. I think Liverpool will get 40 in total. So even if there's only 21 that guarantee themselves with the 5 appearances, there might be 1 or 2 spare medals which they want to get their hands of. But, of course, you'd rather do it by guaranteeing it and making sure that you've actually played the minutes to say that you really 100% deserve that. And I think, we are going to see certainly Nico Williams and probably Jones and probably Harvey Elliott will make a couple of appearances too between the end of the season. So, yeah, I think it's a big period for all of them. We've spoken about how, the break and then the sort of return could be big for people like Naby Keita and to Minamino, but it's probably similarly as big in terms of going into next season for someone like Williams, because certainly, you look at the options at right back, Nathaniel Klein is going to move on. There is going to be a space there for him to fill, and we fully expect that he will do that. I think for someone like Curtis Jones, it's still a big task. I think there's a lot of midfielders who he would have to get past. That's not to say that he can't do it, because he's hugely talented, but certainly Nico Williams, you'd imagine, will be sort of the most likely to go and maybe play 10 or 15 times next season in the league. So yeah, it's a big period. I wouldn't necessarily expect any of the young players to play against Manchester City. I think, obviously, as Joe and Theo explained, it sort of almost builds the narrative, really, Thursday's game heading into next season, because, if Liverpool can win it, it sort of puts to bed the idea that City were, obviously City were second best, but the sort of gap was more than what it deserved to be, and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think Thursday is a big game, but the final, what will it be? The final 6 matches of the season, I'd expect to see at least one of Jones, Elliott, Hoover, players like that. You'd expect to see at least 1 or 2 of them in each of those matches, and judging by the quality that they have, and certainly judging by the appearance that Nico Williams made coming off the bench, there's no reason to think that they can't come on and impress and maybe just plant that seed ahead of next season, because we've seen people like Trent emerge onto the scene out of nowhere in the past. Certainly, these players have got enough ability that they could do something similar.
Yeah, Adam Lallana is a player who hasn't featured in either of the matchday squad since Project Restart got underway. Of course, he is going to be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season after 6 years of service. He will get a medal, but I suppose his contribution to this season really underlines that Liverpool, whilst the narrative has been that City have suffered injuries in defence and haven't been able to cope, Liverpool have likewise, with Lovren and Gomez or Matip coming in and partnering Van Dijk through the course of the season. In midfield, Fabinho was injured. Lallana very much stepped up into that 6th role, or whether it be into one of those deeper midfield roles that prior to this season no one had seen him in. And I suppose that speaks for the professionalism that he's played under Jurgen Klopp at Anfield.
Yeah, I think that's probably why he was given this short-term extension, because looking at it, I can't really see him getting many minutes now between now and the end of the season. And yes, Jurgen Klopp wants to grant him a farewell appearance, but when you think of a farewell appearance, it's normally so the fans can get a chance to say goodbye to you, and obviously he's not going to get that with it being behind closed doors. So when it's about getting game time, would you rather give Adam Lallana a token and 15-minute spell, or would you rather play Curtis Jones, give him that opportunity? He's been a great servant for Liverpool over the years, and it's just a shame for him that he's had so many injuries in the last couple of seasons. But it's important to remember his contribution for setting them on their way. In 2016-17, he scored so many important goals. Obviously, scored against Middlesbrough on the last day of the season to book Champions League football, and Liverpool have sort of grown without him. If Liverpool weren't good as they are, he'd have probably had more game time. You can say the same for Shaqiri, that they'd be fan favourites, but Liverpool are so good now that they can't have these inconsistent players who don't quite perform to that level week in, week out. But Lallana is a player who's complained about his role in the squad, whether he's on the bench or when he was playing as this leader of the press, as he was originally under Klopp, when he's had to be the number 6 in this deep role. He's just a footballer who loves playing football, and I think fans will be happy to see it move on and hopefully find a club where he can be playing week in, week out and be this star performer for them. It is a shame that he's not going to be able to go out with a farewell appearance, go out with a bang, like Manchester City and for David Silva, for example. But he's played his part. It's fitting that he has been able to stay around to be part of these celebrations, even if it's not the celebrations that had been envisioned 3 months ago before all this happened.
Yeah, certainly it's the case, and a player will be leaving with plenty of love from Liverpool supporters, that is no doubt. Well, we best then, as we wrap up here on the Blood Red podcast and look ahead to the City game, go through our selection for the Etihad guys. Joe, I'll start with you in terms of your broad thinking for the squad. Jurgen Klopp's going to go strong here, isn't he? Liverpool want this double over City.
Yeah, it's a bit boring. I think it's just almost the same again, isn't it? The team got the job done so well and so impressively against Palace, and it was pretty much on paper the strongest team you're going to put out for Liverpool. I do think there are players like Keita always remain this sort of like that you think, oh, could he give them a little bit more of an edge in midfield? But I think travelling to City, that midfield three of Fabinho, Jordan Henderson, and Gini Wijnaldum, it's got to be that midfield. They give you everything. They give you strength. They give you leadership, and that they can create as well. So that the other parts of the team practically pick themselves, don't they? The front three and the boss. Yeah, I think it is just a case of same again, and they've had a nice break as well between the two games.
Yeah, it does feel that way. Obviously, an 8-day break. So are we all there? We're all going with Alisson in goal. I take it there's no objection to that, is there, Matt?
No, definitely not. No, I completely agree with Joe. I think it is more important than some people might think, and I suppose Keita is probably the sort of question mark. Do you bring him back in? But it would be very, very harsh, I think, on Wijnaldum. So yeah, I'd be certainly expecting Alisson in goal, and probably the rest of the team very similar too.
Yeah, that back four then, Theo, Trent, Van Dijk, Gomez and Andy Robertson. It does seem to be the one since even the beginning of last season has become the real first choice. Joel Matip, of course, has that ability to play into the midfield, but up against City, Liverpool are going to want to lock it down as much as they can defensively.
Well, I think Joel Matip's still out. I don't think he's returned to training yet. So the alternatives are Dejan Lovren. He obviously has played a lot against Manchester City in the past. He normally starts against them for injury or whatever reasons. But this Liverpool back four have made the spaces in the squad their own. The only reason Joe Gomez hasn't cemented it even more than he already has is because he's had untimely injuries. And we all heard from Virgil van Dijk in the past how much was playing alongside Gomez. Premier League title might be won, but the Golden Glove Award isn't yet. So they'll be wanting to get as many clean sheets as possible between now and the rest of the season. At the other end of the pitch, it's going to be the exact same for Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane going for the Gold Boot, so no reason to change there. The only difference I'd say maybe in midfield is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, just because he's been so good when he's had the opportunity against Manchester City in the past. But it's a big challenge for what we deem to be Liverpool's strongest midfield trio, just because I think it was Atletico, wasn't it? That was like the first game they'd been played as a trio, despite it's on paper Liverpool's strongest 11, and they didn't perform. They've only really been lined up together 2 or 3 times. And Manchester City is a different proposition to Crystal Palace at home. So you want to see what's your strongest midfield on paper, going out and doing it against one of the strongest teams on the country, just to say, yeah, this is a dominant team. They are strongest 11. Let's see what they do. They can do it against any sort of opposition. But at the same time, Jurgen Klopp's got his squad depth, so he doesn't have to stick with the same 11 week in, week out. And I'm sure we'll see that between now and the rest of the season. Liverpool's strength is in defence. There's reason to change that back five, unless you want to give other players opportunity to rest the legs if they're tired. But when you've had 8 days off and a couple of them were celebrating, it should be fine to be same again.
Yeah, and that's from the defensive point of view. Rather than Liverpool's selection, there's going to be no Sergio Aguero, who, as we know, does often like to turn up against Liverpool, certainly at the Etihad.
Yeah, he torments Liverpool. He does. I think forgotten goals, the form when Liverpool won 4-1, he scored a superb goal in that. And then, of course, there's that one from the tight angle against Reina. So delighted. I hope it's not a bad thing. I hope he's back. I love him as a player. I think he's brilliant. I think as a pro, he's great. And he's a sort of guy that represents your club so well. But I am delighted he's missing this game. He's just a menace when he plays against Liverpool. But you know what the Golden Glove. I think does Alisson lead the way now in the race for the Golden Glove?
Yeah, I think he's one or two ahead, something like that.
Yeah, 12 clean sheets from 22 games. Yeah,
that's nuts, isn't it? Considering the amount of games missed, it's phenomenal, and it speaks volumes. As much as I think Adrian has done an admirable job since he's come in, it speaks volumes about just how good Alisson is with that back four. He puts Liverpool up another level. So, being him win that Golden Glove, it would sort of underline his status for me as the best in world football.
Matt, on the midfield three, then, do you think it'll be that de facto first choice of Firmino, Henderson, Van Alden, or do you think there's a chance that Keita or even, as Theo mentioned, Ox might get a run out?
It is a difficult one. It's obviously a place where Jurgen Klopp's got a lot of options. I might be tempted by Naby Keita, but I think Gini Wijnaldum would be probably the slightly safer option. I think that's the one that Jurgen Klopp will go with. I think Naby Keita maybe could come off the bench and do something potentially later in the game. Yeah, you look at how well those three played against Crystal Palace, the fact that there's been 8 days between them, there's no real danger of sort of burning out or anything like that because they've had these 3 months off. So, yeah, I'd be surprised if it was anything other than those three. And I suppose that the time to experiment with different players, whether that's Keita, whether that's Minamino, Chamberlain, whoever, the time for that is probably not Manchester City away. It's probably the other game.
Yeah, especially in midfield where Liverpool are going to be wanting to get the ball back as much as possible from City's slick passes. But into the forward three, come back to you on this, Joe. And it was a statistic that absolutely blew my mind on Derby when it was put on the TV by Sky Sports, that Mohamed Salah has only scored 2 away goals in the Premier League this season. It seems absolutely mind-boggling, yet there's no chance he's not going to be playing at City, is there?
That's the first time I've that. Is that true? Yeah, I didn't see that flash up on the screen. Yeah, very strange. But he's had one hell of a season, hasn't he? And I think it kind of gets forgotten. Salah just tots up going out of fashion, and yeah, he's had one great season. He will definitely start. Thought he was good against Palace again. Yeah, there's no those sorts of statistics sometimes be little anomalies. He's missed games through injury and whatnot. Obviously, he didn't play a good, doesn't he? So I don't think there's any. He's always your first goal scorer. Bet if you're a betting man, isn't he? And so for me, yeah, he's got to start against City.
Yeah, 17 Premier League goals for him this season, 15 at Anfield, just 2 away from home. But Theo, I suppose the only other player who's sort of been up for debate since that restart kicked off is Roberto Firmino and Takumi Minamino. But I suppose, as Matt suggested before, Man City away probably isn't the time for experiment.
No, and as you've just mentioned, that Salah stat, isn't it? Firmino's the opposite, isn't he? He's not scored a Premier League goal at Anfield. So when Liverpool do get the wins, it's not as though they've lost games and dropped lots of points. It's just maybe defences are focusing on different players depending on whether they're home or away. That suits different style, different tactics. Firmino's got some big goals in big away games this season. The one that springs to mind for me is probably Tottenham away. That was a big win at an important time of the season for Liverpool. But we've seen when Liverpool's front three is on form, pieced together, it is special to watch. And it's the fourth goal against Crystal Palace when they all just clicked together so beautifully to score a great team goal. You can't compete with that. You might have your players you're trying to mould into being these alternatives like Minamino, and there will be chances for him between now and the rest of the season because he needs to get that more game time. But he is more a signing for next season. It's all about this front three now when you're making these games against Manchester City. And they've all had fun at before against Manchester City before, haven't they? Just the Champions League game a couple of years ago in the quarter-final, was that Salah and Firmino scoring there. They've all had fun against them at Anfield. We've seen Pep Guardiola, wasn't it, on the Man City document on Amazon, how much he fears this front three. You might as well give them a few nightmares again, even though the Premier League title's already won. Unleash them and see what they can do when you can tell they've been missing not playing football. That the fact they could just be unleashed against Crystal Palace, look forward to playing together, and now they're going to do it against that next level opposition and just finish the season strongly before going again and hopefully adding more silverware next season.
Yeah, certainly. Let's whip round then for our match predictions. I'll kick things off, and I reckon it's going to be 2-1 to Liverpool on Thursday at the Etihad. Matt, what are you saying?
I'm going to go for 1 each, actually. I think a draw isn't a bad result for Liverpool. I think probably for Manchester City as well, they'll be quite relieved not to get beat. I think it could be an entertaining game, but I think maybe by the end, both teams will be fairly content with a point. So, yeah, I'm going to go for 1-1.
Theo?
I'm going to go 1-0 Liverpool, just because of Man City are lacking something without a striker at the moment. Granted, they've got Gabriel Jesus, but it's not quite the same for them as Sergio Aguero. We know Raheem Sterling's woes against Liverpool in the past. Mahrez looks on form, granted, and De Bruyne sensation, even though looking a bit tired at times. But I think Liverpool will be full of confidence. The defence just looks impressive and solid as ever, and I think they'll want to get that clean sheet. It's the sort of game where if he was fit, you'd say James Milner penalty against his club, and that would decide it. So maybe it would be a Mohamed Salah penalty or something like that instead.
And Joe?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth about this game, but I'm now starting to go with you, Guy, and just got a sneaky feeling that Liverpool are going to head up and just show you just why they're champ on Thursday night and put in a sort of like dominant display, a 2-1 win.
Yeah, well, we hope that is the case. Of course, there'll be plenty coming up across the Liverpool Echo and here on the Blood Red channel ahead of that game on Thursday. Analysing Anfield will be with you tomorrow. And then after the game, of course, with the live blog on the Echo website, we'll have the post-game podcast. Hope you can join us then. But for myself, Guy Clark, Matt Addison, Steve Squires and Joe Rimmer, thanks for your time and your company. It's bye for now.